Central Pennsylvania is one of the most loyal and passionate places you're ever going to find dirt track racing. There's always at least 5 races to pick from each weekend of the season, spanning all sorts of classes of cars. One of the premier tracks in this group sits in a valley about an hour north of the state's capital. Port Royal Speedway has been racing since 1938 and hosts weekly sprint car and late model racing. Though, tonight, the virtual equivalent will get to host us as we return again for the BRP iRacing series. Tonight is the second annual 47 Technology CyberNationals, and we are as excited as ever to share it with you here on BRPtv. It's Joe Donahue in the booth alongside my partner in crime, Jonathan Howe, for our first visit to the Speed Palace this season. We have 75 laps on the card tonight, Jonathan, and it takes a little more than just raw speed to win here. What does Port Royal need from these drivers to reward them with a win?
Well, Joe, I think you got to manage the racetrack. We've already heard a couple drivers talking in practice about how rough the place is to drive, how it's feeling on their rigs, how it's feeling on the sim setup. So you're going to have to make sure you're watching for areas of the racetrack that might be a little bit rougher, avoid those areas, or figure out how you're going to hit them and attack them without sacrificing any speed. You can see some of the guys bouncing around already out there as practice is going on, but they are competing for a great points night, an awesome race win, but also a beautiful trophy too, Joe.
Yes, so tonight is the 47 Technology CyberNationals, as mentioned, and that means 47 Technology is hooking us up with a little bit of hardware this evening. Here's a little picture of your trophy that the winner's going to get their hands on. A little addition of their name will get placed on, and then the driver will get in the mail the, I think, only piece of hardware for the season, at least on the docket. So far, Dean Reynolds earned himself one of these last year at Williams Grove for this race. And this year, we are at Port Royal. And Jonathan, we come into Port Royal. We haven't really talked about it a ton. We only got a couple seconds here before qualifying comes. But we got to mention the points because we haven't talked about it in a little while.
No, it is. It's a pretty tight battle up at the front. Cody Higbee has been doing a great job pacing this field. He's been the fastest man. But last week we saw Ryan Beagle start to eat into it. And as far as the points go, Joe, I mean, it's a pretty tight battle throughout the top 10. I feel like anybody can start moving towards the front. It's going to take a lot to catch up to Cody Higbee, but I'm watching for a guy like Dean Reynolds. I'm watching for Matt DeRitter. He was kind of surprised to see himself in 8th in points right now, and I think he's a guy who we could be talking about inside the top 5 by the time it's all said and done.
Definitely, and these points, we should mention, do not account for the drop week, so some of those guys have missed a race. You know, Matt DeRitter's missed a race, Nick Sheridan's missed a race, but the points table doesn't reflect that, so once we start dropping those points as well, then it might get a little bit closer. But you're right, Cody Higbee's taken the lead pretty heavily, and we'll see if he can extend it or if he's going to close it in a little bit tonight. As we said, this is our first of 2 races at Port Royal for the season. The second will be the penultimate race. Last year we had 2 races at Port Royal, and Brandon Plank swept the both of them. This year, at least for the first one, Brandon Plank is not here, so we're going to get a new winner at this track in these cars for this series. Qualifying begins now. 2 laps for each driver. You're watching Matt DeRitter slide way heavy into turn number 1, and they're staying down low, or at least Matt did that time, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where the speed is going to be. Like I said, there's a lot of rough areas of this racetrack as we see DeRitter really struggling up on the top side of the racetrack now. And I've heard I've heard the outside is a little bit rougher and known to be rougher in the game than the bottom line. We see much better time through 1 and 2 there for Matt DeRitter. But I think maybe the middle groove is where you're going to find the most speed on this one. I'm not 100% sure about that bottom lane, Joe.
I'm thinking it will be for the start, or at least where the track state's at right now. Anthony Rosselli here on screen doing the exact same thing, going low. We'll probably see them work into the middle a little more, but I anticipate the middle being the preferred line at some point fairly quickly. The top looks like it's already pretty used up, Jonathan, and I don't know. I'm sure you've run around Port in the World of Outlaws game. I don't know how recently for you, but it seems like, you know, the top side at Port in real life is so dominant. The game doesn't really reflect that necessarily.
No, you've got options in the game in terms of where you want to run and where you can find speed on this this particular racetrack. I mean, for me, I like the middle. I seem to be able to keep it wound up a little bit better, but also kind of get the advantage of using the bottom end of the racetrack to get around. And, um, if you're running right up against the wall, obviously it's great. You can carry a lot of momentum, but with how rough it is up there, it can also throw you off, and it's really easy to just clip into that outside wall. Cody Higbee fastest so far as I'm looking at the time. Matt DeRitter just out there trying to run some more practice laps, I think, here, Joe, and use up what qualifying time he has, as he's already posted a lap, or posted his quick time. But surprised to see how tight the field is. I mean, 0.4 of a second from worst to best. So I think we're going to see a pretty tight race when it's all said and done here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually, I'm very surprised to see Matt DeRitter at the bottom of that pole. I mean, we only got 14 cars out tonight, but yeah, DeRitter all the way down at the bottom and Higbee at the top. It's not that big of a gap between them. That could lead us to some very good racing. Nick Sheridan, the only car left on the track, and he's doing the same thing you just mentioned, Jonathan. He's getting a little extra practice in here in qualifying. And as the clock turns off and we skip the session over, we will start off with our first heat race of the evening. So we're going to have 7 drivers out for 8 laps. And once we queue them up, we can go check them out. Starting from the pole, your fast qualifier tonight, the number 97 Iceless machine is Cody Higbee. To his outside, the Phase 3 Racing number 60 of Brian Berger. Behind them, on the inside, is dirt car Dean Reynolds in the 79 machine out of New York. And on his outside, our Canadian friend in the 45S is Nick Sheridan, back on the block and ready to rock. On the inside of row number 3, you got the Slight Electrical number 2 of Alan Slight. And to his outside, running in his home race this evening, at least in the game per se, closest to him, the Keystone driver, Dean Meitzler. And rounding him out on the tail end of this grid is going to be the Murder Graphics number 33 of the Teach, Pat Reiser. I think we're going to have 2 laps here, so we get a little bit of time to talk about this track and talk about this group of drivers and talk about what you're expecting, Jonathan. What are you thinking about heat race number 1 with, I'd say, a smaller group, but definitely a strong hitting, heavy hitting group?
I think we're going to see some of the veterans of the series, Higbee, Reynolds, go to the front. I think a driver like Nick Sheridan's going to try to be aggressive, but in terms of an actual ability to be successful, I think you're probably just going to want to ease into this one, figure this racetrack out a bit, see what it's going to give you, and then go for it come feature time. I really think you got to be patient with this track tonight.
I would agree with that. I think this is a track, at least for me, it sucks me in. It makes me want to push down on the throttle more. It's a big track. It's a half mile. It feels like it's a lot bigger than a half mile, whether in person or in game. And I always am anticipating, I'm feeling like I need to get more on the throttle because I need to get that speed up because it's a big track, you know what I'm saying? But you can't do that. You got to stay a little patient with it, patient with the throttle, patient with the car. That's going to be the name of the game tonight, especially with the track state where it is. So Cody Higgee's going to bring us down. Waited a long time to get it, but the green flag comes to us, and heat race number 1 is underway.
Good start from Higbee there down low. Berger up on the outside, using that middle groove that I was talking about earlier in practice. We'll see how effective it is for this stretch of the race as Higbee now slides up to that middle groove. Reynolds trying to advance forward. He's working underneath the 60 of Brian Berger as we see Alan Slate have a few connection issues. You can see him kind of blipping there in the 4th spot. But it's all Cody Higbee right now, Joe.
Higbee with a very easy lead into turn number 3 again. He's got Brian Berger right behind him, and Dean Reynolds right in the tire tracks there. Very solid running between those two. Very evenly matched cars so far in this heat race. Higbee leads the way. Al Slight still having those connection issues. It might have gotten cleared up a little bit, and he starts to challenge for 3rd place. And he will into turn number 3, maybe attempt a slider, yes, but he disappears and comes back, and he will retain the final podium spot.
Yep, Reynolds drops back a spot. Haven't seen Nick Sheridan march forward yet, and that's kind of what I figured. I figured we'd see a lot of veterans of the game and of the series be in control of this one early. And then, seeing Cody Higbee at the front, Joe, that is not what anybody wants to see because it took a pretty big and epic performance throughout the whole night for Ryan Beagle to put himself in position to beat Cody Higbee last week. Mm-hmm. And if Higbee's going to start on the front row, which if he can finish off this heat win, he will do so. that's going to be tough for the rest of the field to deal with.
Absolutely agree with that. Cody Higbee's been very dominant when he's in situations like this so far this season. We're only a few races in, but yeah, Cody Higbee showing right now this could very easily go along and be one of those nights like we've already seen this season where he just takes it to the checkered flag. Brian Berger, who we don't see every single week, but we see him pretty regularly, a longtime member of this series. He's a longtime member of the racing community, and he comes out with us and has had good nights and had middle of the road nights. Tonight is definitely looking like a good night, though, as he's the only guy who's even kind of matching Cody Higbee's pace right now, and proving it by staying in second place as the white flag comes out.
Final time through 3 and 4. Cody Higbee stretching things out ever so slightly over Berger as he hits the home stretch here, and checkers are in the air. Heat win goes to Cody Higbee, Brian Berger second, Al Slate third, and Dean Reynolds trying the top side there ends up in the fourth spot. Pretty, I don't want to say predictable there, Joe, but I think that was pretty status quo for what I expected from heat number 1. What's heat number 2 going to look like?
That's a great question. We'll have to see. We can tell you what the starting grid's going to look like, but I don't know what the racing's going to look like. Starting from the pole, you're going to have the number 80 machine, one of the Rosellis. This is D. Rose on a sensational run of finishes and performances in this series. Dominic Roselli takes the pole for heat race number 2. To his outside, going to be the main competitor in the championship at this moment for Cody Higbee, the reigning champion of the series, Ryan Beagle. Starting in row number 2 on the inside, the Van Sickle Electric number 7 of A rows, Anthony Roselli, starting right behind his brother. And to his outside, in the nickel street clothesline, number 21P, representing Canada, is Tyler Pachalski. They call him the Hot Tamale for good reason. We give him all sorts of nicknames. You talk about people with nicknames. Gavin Isley's got the longest list. Sometimes we call him the Gas Man. Sometimes we call him the Catfish. He's all over the place, but he's going to run from P5. And starting on the outside of row number 3, the MDR Designs number 28 of Jeff Sharp, always a consistent driver of this series and a loyal member of this group. And starting from 7th, as we mentioned in qualifying, a little underwhelming, kind of a surprise even, that Matt DeRitter will start from 7th of 7 in this heat race. And I guess, Jonathan, from heat race number 1 and knowing Matt, do you see him having an opportunity to get up to the front, or is the heat race, maybe not necessarily the feature, but the heat race going to kind of be just like a, hey, I got to run in the line, I got to run in line, I got to wait this out and see how the track ages?
I feel like a lot of Matt's struggles were just comfortability and not necessarily having the car where he wants it or understanding the racetrack the way he wants to. So I feel like a guy like DeRitter's probably going to treat this as a bit of a test session. The one you want to circle and watch for is Gavin Isley, who has had speed throughout the season, has been pretty strong, but finds himself back on the inside of row number 3. Can he advance forward? Can he get into those bonus point paying spots? Or is the competition in front of him just too tough? We'll find out here as the flag goes up and pedals are down. Good start from the Rosellis on the inside. Ryan Beagle does not get away as good from the outside lane, but powers back around Anthony Roselli, and he'll take over the second spot once again. Everybody chasing Dominic Roselli right now up at the front of this one.
Roselli going to come back around, and D. Rose is going to lead that first lap of heat race number 2. He's got Ryan Beagle and his brother Anthony right in step. Gavin Isley trying to make a run at Tyler Pachalski for the 4th and final points-paying position in this heat race, and he does so. Pachalski now falls into the hands of DeRitter, and he's kind of proven me wrong. He's going towards the front, making a slow progress right now in the 0-3 machine. Up front, though, Dominic Roselli.
Good battle at the front here, too, as the top 3 cars pretty much under a blanket coming out of the corner there. Last week's winner, Ryan Beagle, trying to find a way past D. Rose. We've seen this battle play out a couple times already this year, and Anthony Roselli also showing some pretty good pace as the top 3 are nose to tail heading into turn 1.
Through turn 2, a little bit further down the track for the big dog, Ryan Beagle. He's not going to get the run this time. Going to have to stay in line as we're going to come to the halfway point of the second heat race of 2 this evening. Dominic Roselli off the top. Ryan Beagle right in the Roselli sandwich here as Anthony's going to look to the middle. And Jonathan, that middle line we were talking about, it's starting to make its way. As look at the 7 cars momentum. He's going to make a run for second here down the backstretch.
Good run on the outside there from Roselli. We'll see how that plays out down the front stretch. Tried to go to the inside there, Joe, but just ran out of room. Now he'll dive to the outside once again. Looks like he just doesn't quite have the power to pull alongside Beagle yet. Maybe if he tries a slider, diving in on the inside, maybe he can get that pass done. But with 3 laps to go, why not just wait it out a little bit and see if you can really capitalize on something as Beagle covers off that inside lane again.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way this track is right now, though, because you can see it's slicking off, but there's also enough grip and there's enough of a defined dominant line that there's not a ton of movement going on in terms of passing. Everybody's kind of running in a train right now. They're going to train back to the white flag. And if Anthony Roselli wants to do anything to get that second spot, Jonathan, I think he's going to have to think outside of the box a little bit.
Yeah, like I say, I think that slider move, making a dive bomb here if the door is open, that's about all you can do, but he's not going to get there. Look at Gavin Isley close up, though. Good move and good advance forward for Isley to pick up one of those bonus points positions. But it is Dominic Roselli getting the win over Ryan Beagle, Anthony Roselli, and Gavin Isley rounding out your top 4.
That is the end of heat racing action tonight. The 5-minute warm-up session starts for us, and the driver's going to get an opportunity to go out, work in the track a little bit, make it a little bit more racy for the 75-lap feature that we have on the docket around Port Royal Speedway for the 47 Technology CyberNationals. And we'll pop timing and scoring up on the screen to check out how the times go up in this session. But 14 drivers. We basically lined them up in order on the inside and outside from heat 1 and heat number 2, and onwards they come. You could play the Battle of the Valkyrie or the Song of the Valkyrie, the da 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 da, for everybody coming out onto the track right now to get a little practice in, Jonathan.
Yeah, they're all bombing out there together, which is kind of what you want to see. It gives a good chance to work in the track together. And for these guys, I'm sure they're probably trying to measure up, see if they can't learn something from their fellow competitors, especially if you end up behind somebody who is fast like Nick Sheridan, who is following Cody Higbee right now around this racetrack. And you can see the line really is moving up a bit there, Joe. We talked about the bottom in qualifying. I thought the middle groove was probably going to be the fast line once we got to racing here. And you can see Sheridan trying to make the lower half of the racetrack work. It's really good to watch this. This is really giving you a sense of what I think we might see later on in the night. And you can see how rough it is on that outside as Cody Higbee almost gets bogged down from some of the bumps that he hits in the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah, those bumps are the killer here at Port Royal Speedway in this game. I've actually talked with some of the drivers before this race about how treacherous those bumps really can be, and it won't get better over the course of the evening. It's one of the more recent updates of iRacing kind of made the wear and tear of this track a little more extreme than I think it's fair to say, a little more extreme than what we see in the real world. I go to this racetrack a couple times a month during the season, and I rarely see it in the form that we end up with by the end of nights like this. But nonetheless, it will make things very exciting. It makes it a driver's track. It makes it that driver patience, smarts, and taking good opportunity. That's how you win the race, and that's what we like to see. So the good driving will rise the cream to the top here at Port Royal Speedway. Jonathan, we have a minute here. We ought to take a second and show some appreciation for some of our partners and sponsors and whatnot of this series, we've had a lot of loyalty and a lot of generosity coming our way because of some of our wonderful partners and sponsors. If you want to give us a call on some of those people who help make this show happen.
Well, we got to start with MDR Designs and Murder Graphics. You can elevate your racing experience with Murder Graphics. Make your events stand out with premium event logos, flyers, social media, marketing, and more. Send them a message on Facebook or email them at mrdrgraphics@gmail.com. That's mrdrgraphics@gmail.com. Murder Graphics, home of killer style. And wanted to give a huge shout out to Creative Turnings, based out of Waterford, Connecticut. Creative Turnings offers wood and acrylic household items such as pens, bowls, candlesticks, charcuterie boards, and more. Custom homemade products, great for gift giving and home decor. Head over to their Facebook site to learn more about that. 47 Technology, obviously, Joe, a pretty special brand to have as part of the racing season here for you. 47 Technology is homegrown 3D printing operation, making your visions turn to reality one layer at a time. Custom projects have included Christmas ornaments, trophies for sim racing like tonight's beautiful piece, board game pieces, and more. Check out their Etsy page and reach out to make your custom 3D projects the next level. Joe, I want to also give a shout out to the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. Myself and Travis Cunningham not racing with us tonight, but we are back, and we've got a couple episodes out since the new year has come out. Most recently, we went back, kind of covered all things Chili Bowl on the show, as well as looked ahead at some of the local news and headlines about what's happening in our Southern Ontario realm of dirt racing, from modifieds to we got some crate sprint driver news that broke over the last week or so. So it's been fun to get back into the groove of doing the podcast, and we're dropping those about every 2 weeks right now while we're still in the off season locally. But we're keeping an eye on some of the bigger events, and if there's any big breaking news stories, we're going to jump in and talk about those as well.
That's what we like to hear. I have been a fan of taking the Southern Ontario Dirt Show with me on my drives, especially when I was back in college, going back and forth 11 to 12 hours at a time. It was very nice to have some friendly voices. I would say friendly faces, but it's a podcast. Some friendly voices on the line to keep your sanity in check when you're just driving on a straight road all day long in the Midwest. So, with that, it is time. It is time to bring you the starting grid of tonight's show. For 75 laps, the 47 Technology CyberNationals will go like this. Starting from the pole, heat race number 1 winner, representing New York in car number 97, the Ice Less Handsome Devil Catering and Barbecue Machine of Cody Higbee. To his outside in the 80 car, going to be the Van Sickle Electric 5L Enterprises machine from Monticello, New York, Dominic Rosselli. Starting in third, driving car number 60, representing New York in the Phase 3 Racing Jam Performance Machine, is Brian Berger. And to his outside, in fourth, the reigning champion and defending winner from last week in the Auckland Insurance APC Auto Parts Machine, the big dog, Ryan Beagle. Starting from fifth place in the Slight Electrical number 2 out of Ontario, Canada, is Alan Slight. And in sixth place on the grid, the House of Speed Van Sickle Electric Machine, the Ice Chip, Anthony Roselli. Starting seventh in car number 79 out of New York is Dino, Dirt Car Dean, the Super Dirt Car Series Full Throttle Motorsports car, Dean Reynolds. And starting eighth in the 18 machine, we call him the Gas Man, we call him the Catfish, the Performance Automotive Showtime Custom Wraps car of Gavin Isley. Starting ninth place in the 45S, up from north of the border, drives a 360 up there, is Nick Sheridan in his rookie campaign at Port Royal with this series. And starting on the 10th spot in the grid, driving the 21P, the Smithville RV Nickel Street Clothesline Machine out of Ontario, Canada, is Tyler Pachalski. Starting 11th, the lone Keystone driver. He's driving the number 49 car, always gets a large crowd of fans rocking with us in the stream, the rockauto.com Icon Performance car of Dean Meitzler. Then in 12th place, the Murder Graphics MDR Designs 03 of Matt DeRitter. The Teach Pat Reiser in the other Murder Graphics machine, the car number 33, goes 13th. And rounding out the grid in the number 28, representing New York, is Jeff Sharp. 14 drivers, 75 laps, a half mile around the Speed Palace, one of those beautiful dirt tracks in America. And it's all in the hands of Cody Higbee as we get ready to start this race. The 14 of them line up. We got a hell of a crowd tonight for the 47 Technology CyberNationals. And to the Ice Less 97, it is Green Flag Racing, and we are underway.
Good start at the front of this field. More even than I thought it would be, Joe. I'm really impressed with what Dominic Roselli is doing from the top side of the racetrack, and he's really trying to take the lead, keeping the 97 pinch down out of the corner, and he'll do so. There's Dominic Roselli to the point.
Leading the way into turn number 1 is that 80 car of Dominic Roselli. I saw Brian Berger get a little bit loose on the bottom, slide up the racetrack in 3 and 4. Saw a little bit of contact between Sheraton and Pachalski the last time they came through this set of turns. The guys are close, but they are holding their own lines, and it looks pretty clean to finish the second lap of 75 tonight here, Jonathan.
Higbee having a look to the inside once again. Just can't quite get the power down, especially on the exit of the corner and even through the middle there. Carries enough speed on that line through the middle, well, entry to the middle, I guess, but then kind of stalls out, trying to keep it underneath where Roselli is running right now. That 80 car looking strong at the front of the field, and he is now being pursued by Higbee and Ryan Beagle, who started to close in on that top 2 battle.
Yes, and looking behind Beagle now, that's the top three. Anthony Rosselli to be exact. He ran all the way up to the top side of turns 1 and 2. We're going to see if he does it again. Why don't we check it out? We haven't done this yet tonight. How about an onboard with Anthony Rosselli into the corner? He is not going to commit as hard as he did the last time. Ryan Beagle maybe searches a little bit, but not Rosselli's turn. He is going to sit in line, and you can see how bumpy it is even on the straightaways right now, Jonathan.
Yeah, it is a rough racetrack, and it's also kind of a weird corner, Joe, because of how big this place is and how sweeping the corners are. He doesn't have to really give a lot of wheel to it. You don't have to you can kind of almost let the car float, I guess, through the middle of the corner, right? You don't have to really get the car rotated through the middle. You kind of just let it do its thing, and that's kind of different than what we've seen from most of the tracks that we've been to in this series, where there have been some tracks where the middle of the corners, you really got to haul on that wheel. You got to make sure you get your back end rotated so you can launch right off. But with these big sweeping corners, it's almost like you got to float for a second or two, as we see the 97 not floating at all. Cody Higbee trying to go back to the lead, and he'll do so with a big slide job into corner 1 and 2.
And diamonding off the bottom there, Dominic Rosselli shows it back to him, and maybe he'll slide or maybe he'll stay low. Little bit of a half slide from Rosselli. I think Cody kind of slid himself getting into the corner, but it worked out for him. Got a battle going on back here as well. 3 wide even for a moment for, 6th place. And the lead is definitely also a good battle to watch right now. We got too many battles on the racetrack at the same time, Jonathan.
This is where we need the NBC 4 cam and split into 4 different screens to watch everything that's going on here, because we are getting an absolute great race at the front of this field. I mean, Cody Higbee is doing all he can, but he just can't quite get that drive off. That time he gets a pretty good run out of the corner, though, and he'll stay even door-to-door with Rosselli into 3 and 4.
Rosselli, a little too much into the corner, a little too much mustard, brings him to the top of the racetrack, but he stays even and actually leads the lap over Cody Higbee that time. So maybe the top's coming into play a little bit more than it was before. Rosselli up top in the pink, white, and light blue number 80 car. Cody Higbee sliding from bottom to top there in the gray and white with yellow highlights machine, and they're going to swap spots on the racetrack, and to the line, it's still going to be Dominic by just a nose.
Now, see, if I was Cody Higbee there, what I would try to do is actually try to keep Rosselli pinched down on the inside lane. He'll go for the crossover move again, and it looks like it's going to be successful. But if that 80 car gets to the inside of Higbee again here, what I would try to do is through 1 and 2 especially, run to the middle, lower side of the racetrack. Make sure that Rosselli doesn't get the chance to do exactly that and slide up in front and really use all of the real estate to his advantage to take the lead back.
We're playing Slider City right now between the two of them. Oh, and Higbee, he locked it down on the bottom of the racetrack, and it almost worked out for him, but Rosselli actually jumped to the top again and kept the momentum spooled up. He almost got back in front of Higbee to the line, and now off of turn number 2, he's going to cross over again and have to offer a slide job to Higbee for, I don't know, the 5th or 6th time in a row to try to get this lead back, and Higbee just right back underneath him.
This is great stuff between these two. The rookie in the 80 car, Dominic Rosselli, trying to outsmart last year's almost champion, Cody Higbee, coming up a little bit short, but he has been the man to beat in the series this year. And look at them still trading blows through each and every corner, trying to figure out who wants to maintain the lead of this race. Now, we've seen tire wear come into play, but when you guys are throwing sliders back and forth like this, Joe, we've got two guys that are probably using up a lot of their stuff, and we're not even 3/4 of the way or a third of the way into this race yet.
No, we aren't. We are getting close, but what are we at? We're roughly at a quarter of the way into this event, and these two are sending themselves sliders back and forth like crazy. The two drivers in 3rd and 4th place are doing somewhat of the same. Anthony Rosselli and Ryan Beagle having a heck of a battle for that final podium spot. Alan Slight still having a little bit of that connection issue behind them. You can see he's not there, and now he is, and now he's gone. And now he's there, and now he's gone. And now he's there.
Yeah, the Slate Electrical number 2 car is definitely phasing in and out of view, but still running pretty well up inside the top 5 right now is Al Slate. Now, here's what I'm wondering. Well, now that Higbee is out in front, how does Rosselli attack back without burning up the stuff? You can see he's pretty much just riding in the same line as him, maybe a half lane lower. He'll try to pull alongside down the backstretch, Joe. But if you're Rosselli, how do you try and keep Cody at bay? Do you try and take the lead back and try to control the race yourself, or do you settle in here and save some stuff? Because again, we're not even into a third of this race yet, and these two have been trading blows for what feels like 10 laps, if not longer, and they're still not done arguing over that top spot. I feel like one of them has to just chill out and let the other lead for a second and catch their breath.
I would think so. I would think that we would get to a point where that happens. We often do in these races, especially with a longer race like this. 75 laps around a half mile is pretty long for a dirt race. These guys always, you get a little antsy when you start the race. You want to get up front. You want to take advantage of how close everybody is together. But then you get to a point where you got to ride. You got to kind of save the tires, conserve the car so that you have a good car underneath you when we come down to the finish. I am genuinely thinking if we had a late race yellow and these guys got all bunched back up again, this racing how hard this is Cody Higbee and Dominic Roselli using up what they maybe would have on the line later on. So it's something to think about. Everybody's running really well right now. There is not much trouble going on this racetrack, but you never can be too sure about that.
Look at the cars bounce around, especially on the back straightaway. You can see them rocking back and forth. And, I made the comment about, maybe settling in and letting things play out. I think if you're D Rose, I don't think Cody Higbee is the guy you can just follow. The way he has been in this series all season long, Joe, I think the better play if you're the 80 car is to try to take the lead like he does there with a big slider and try to see if you can control the pace and make Cody run your pace rather than let Cody dictate what the pace at the front of the field is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Cody Higbee is going to be a tough key to pass, especially at the end of the race. And one thing about Cody, you mentioned running that pace. His pace is fast. I mean, he's pretty good at this. He can maintain a very strong pace and still conserve the car. And we've talked about Dominic Roselli learning that in this game, learning that through iRacing. He's gotten much better at it over the last couple weeks. But you're right. If he can get out front and control the pace, control what happens with Higbee, that's probably a better situation for D Rose to be able to have a shot at the end of this, because if Cody's out front, he's going to run a pace that is going to be very hard to match, and I would be surprised to see Dominic have that same pace and the same tires left over at the end. As his brother Anthony's starting to reel the two of them in, though, Jonathan.
I was just going to say, I don't want to start anything here, but those two have really dropped off in their pace. Either that or Anthony Roselli has turned up the wick. He got past Ryan Beagle and Al Slate, and now he's up to third and closing, like, rapidly. He's knocking them down. There's some quick times out of that 7 machine as they continue to battle up front for this lead. This is going to be a 3-car battle not before too long.
Yeah, something that's interesting about that, Jonathan, a lot of times with these races, we'll see the fastest lap of the race get turned pretty early because the track gets worn out, gets slicker, gets slower. Just now it's 4 laps ago. At the line that time, it was 4 laps ago. Anthony Roselli set the new fastest lap of this race. So that was, 26 laps into this event? We saw a new fastest lap, and it's comparable to what his brother Dominic's running, and it's about a half a second faster than what Higbee and D Rose did that time. So it is going without saying that Anthony Roselli has gotten it into a higher gear, and he is showing it by giving Cody Higbee a run for second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the battle is on. We'll see. I don't think you use up necessarily, yes, it's a fast time, but you don't use your stuff up when you're running solo and you're chasing down that rabbit. As we see, the 97 just touch up against the wall ever so slightly. But you don't use your stuff up when you're not racing against anybody and you're just chasing somebody. But now he's racing against somebody, and Cody Higbee is doing a good job taking away any lines that Roselli could run, and maybe even learning from a guy like Roselli and where he is going in that 7 car. See if there's more speed available to him as he continues this run on, and maybe he can run down D Rose. But Dominic Roselli is starting to kind of open up just a bit of a gap on Higbee. And now slide job. Look at the 7 car there up on the outside. Does a great job to take that second spot away. And here comes the Iceless 97 back to the inside. Cody Higbee not done. And in fact, he's even going to take a run at Dominic Roselli. This is awesome racing at the front of this field.
And he blocked the line back from Anthony Rosselli. I think Dominic was finding the fruits of his brother's battle with Cody Higbee, that's why he was getting that gap, and it's back a little bit there. As they come into the corner, it disappears. But Anthony actually helping his brother out as much as he's helping himself now. And the Rossellis are going to take over 1 and 2 this time into 3 and 4. The brothers run 1 and 2 to Cody Higbee, who is a very strong competitor at this racetrack and has been last season as well as tonight. But 35 laps into 75. He's not giving up just yet. And Anthony Rosselli might have a run at the lead here this time, Jonathan.
What a move through the middle, shoots the gap, and he'll try to take the top spot away from his brother here with an epic slider. Hang on to her. That almost got up towards the wall there as Dominic Rosselli fights back to the inside, and he'll nose ahead at the line. It's still the 80 car of Rosselli out in front over the 7 car of Rosselli. That's D Rose, Dominic Rosselli in the 80, and Anthony Rosselli in the 7. Side by side, the brothers continue to battle, and now Cody Higbee can only watch and see where these guys going to go. 3 wide almost as Higbee backs out of it, but he had a run even through that middle of the corner. Top 3 cars just driving away from the rest of the field. Ryan Beagle's doing a good job hanging on to 4th and just kind of running his own race, but right now these 3 are in a league of their own.
Very much so, and I want to make a shout out. We're not going to jump back really quick, but Nick Sheridan is doing a hell of a job to run. He was 6th place. He was at one point 5th. It started a little bit further back in the field, but Nick's doing a really great job right now handling the 45S car. As this battle, it's spreading out just a little bit. Anthony Rosselli has taken over the lead. D Rose gets into the wall pretty hard there in 3 and 4, and Higbee stays low. They're catching up to lap traffic a little bit, Jonathan. That's going to definitely throw a wrench in this and change things up. Matt DeRitter and Jeff Sharp back there are going to be the guys they're looking to catch up to and have to figure out how to maneuver.
Yeah, certainly that is going to be the case here. But I think this is what we talked about early on about how hard Dominic Rosselli, I should clarify, and the 97 of Higbee were running each other. I think that is a big reason why we're seeing them now fall off. There is clean racetrack ahead for a few more laps anyways for Anthony Rosselli. So he's been able to stretch things out over those two who are still negotiating the 2nd spot. Higbee trying to keep pace with Dominic Rosselli. But now with the lap traffic looming, they just got to keep it, maybe cool those tires down a little bit, take it easy, see if you can at least keep pace with where you're at with Rosselli as we see a big slider from Higbee, and he's going to put it up against the fence there. But I think if you can slow your pace down, that lap traffic will let these guys get back into the race, depending on how quickly Anthony Rosselli can get through it.
Yeah, why don't we check in with our leader? Let's go on board. You're going to first off see how bumpy the track is, and second off see how close he is to the lap traffic, and how much he's got to work that wheel right now. He goes all the way to the top. Oh my gosh. That made me nervous, and I'm not even driving, Jonathan. That was a lot right there.
Another coat of paint and he'd be history. That's what they used to say, right? So, I mean, oof. I am shocked at how hard he is still driving this race car. Maybe it doesn't feel like it's that hard. I mean, he saw it on the wheel pretty good there, but Anthony Rosselli is moving and grooving at the front of the field, and I just think he's going to back it down just ever so slightly. Like, I know we talked about those guys burning things up, Joe, but no need to push the pace here. You can get around the lap traffic with a little bit of patience, and that's how you're going to hang on to get a win.
Yeah, and Anthony Rosselli has yet to do so. None of the rookies have gotten through and gotten their first win of this season or this series, but Anthony Rosselli's got a pretty good shot at things right now, and as does his brother, who's in 3rd. Dominic has had a couple good shots at wins these last few weeks. Anthony Rosselli, he navigated DeRitter pretty well. He's got Tyler Pacholski in the 21 and Jeff Sharp in the 28 ahead of him. And, he's still building that gap. He is using up the tires a lot, Jonathan. But another thing about using up those tires, for how bumpy this racetrack is right now, he's in the air half the time, so it doesn't burn the tires up anyway.
That's a fair point. That's one way to look at it for sure. As he tries to get around Jeff Sharp there, it got awfully close, and now he's got to mind his P's and Q's, getting around the hot tamale. There is Tyler Pacholski down low in the 21P. Once he gets by Tyler, it's a pretty open racetrack from there. I think Anthony Rosselli is going to be able to be pretty comfortable now that he's through all that lap traffic, and Cody Higbee is going to have to pick up the pace as he's gotten past Rosselli and has gapped him by a couple car lengths. if Higbee wants to go and win this race, it's going to take a big miracle over the next 25 laps or so. The final third of this race is now underway.
Yeah, and he's got to find a way around those 3 lapped cars to even get back into having a shot at Anthony, as Dominic is, man, he's gunning that car. And I want to watch here. Look at how much jumping that car is doing. It's singing along to Jump Around down the back straightaway from House of Pain as they go back into 3 and 4 again, and a little more of the same out of turn number 4. Man, that does not, I'm sure that doesn't feel good. Even though it's a simulator, you're sawing on your simulator steering wheel and everything, that's not a great feeling.
I mean, even your eyes alone, right? Looking at the screen, the way it was bouncing around, I was getting a little bit shook up when we were on board with Anthony Roselli, and he was coming up close to the wall, and we saw some of the bumps down the back straightaway. I just love this battle, though, Joe. The 97 and the 80 car cannot get unglued. They are running basically the same speed around this racetrack and have been the whole time. It's just that speed is not enough to compete with the 7 car of Anthony Roselli right now.
Yikes, and Dominic just tried to turn it down the racetrack. I realize we've watched this battle for pretty much every lap of the 53 we've got down so far. We should check in with the rest of the guys, but how would you take away from the battle we're watching between Higbee and Dominic Roselli? This is one of the classiest battles we've seen in a while. This is one of the tightest battles we've seen Cody Higbee in all season long. Dominic Roselli not backing down. His brother kind of took advantage of the both of them, but any points are points, and Dominic Roselli's going to keep trying. We actually should check in on Ryan Beagle. We haven't looked at Ryan for a little while. He's running 5th place right now. Gavin Isley's gotten around him, and Alan Slight's giving him pressure.
Yeah, good run from Al Slate there. I mean, it's tough to say what Beagle needs here. I mean, you're going to lose points to Cody Higbee no matter what, really, unless you're going to get a late restart here and you can challenge. But I guess right now, Beagle's just got to minimize the damage, take what he can get from this racetrack, and get out of here for the next week. But right now, he's got his hands full. Al Slate is doing a great job challenging that 84 RK.
He's trying. And he's to the middle now, and he's cutting in and out of the session. And that makes it really hard to race him, too. Oh, my gosh, he comes back, and he's in front. Yeah, it makes it hard to race him when this happens, though, because if he kind of has a second where he's not really connected fully to the session, and Ryan Beagle catches up, and they somehow end up in a very close space, the moment that Al Slight disappears and then comes back, if he comes back and he's right beside Beagle, you have no time to react to that. I'm sure Ryan's keeping that in mind right now, because he definitely doesn't want to end up in the catch fence here at Port Royal tonight.
Yep, Dean Reynolds, who won this race last year, not at this racetrack, but a different track just behind them as well. This is your Dirt Car Series there, representing that, and we can't wait to get the Super Dirt Car Series going back out on the road real soon. I believe he's going to be missing, what did you say, Joe, the next 3 races, I think? Is that when that gets going for them, or has he maybe got one more week, I think, with us, and then he gets down to Florida for a few weeks while the mods and everybody else does their racing from Volusia and around the Sunshine State?
I believe he'll be here, if I recall correctly, he'll be here next week, and then he's on that 3-week span. Although that might be wrong. I know the sprint cars start on like the weekend of or is that not the sprint cars? Maybe the late models starting on the weekend of the 10th. I thought he said he was going to be here one more week before he was gone for a while. Dean Reynolds is one of the guys who is the classiest, nicest people, and I've met so many great people through this series. Dean Reynolds is one that I've been fortunate enough to meet in person, and just a great guy. And I know his girlfriend and his dad watch along every week with us to see how he does and cheer him on against this tough crowd of drivers. It's really nice to have him here. And we will miss him while he's gone, but hopefully the rest of the field will keep up the class and composure that he brings to the table. As we're getting close to 10 laps to go, Jonathan, we're talking our way through it. We haven't looked at Anthony Roselli in a minute, but the picture here shows why he doesn't really have any competition around him right now.
No lap cars in front of him immediately. No pressure out the back. He can kind of just go on a Monday night cruise here to the end as long as he keeps it clean and takes care of his stuff. And he really is doing a great job of that. We've talked about how rough this racetrack looks, Joe, but it looks smooth on that 7 car. I mean, he does not look like he's moving around a ton. He doesn't look like he's really overdriving it at any point. He doesn't really put himself in danger of getting up too close to the wall. As I say that, he kind of maybe gives it a little bit of a brush there, but you know, he's just doing what he needs to do, and it's pretty impressive composure, I should say, for a rookie in this field.
Absolutely, it is. And he has just built the gap and sparing anything crazy. This is going very well for Anthony Roselli, leading the way here in the 47 Technology CyberNationals. Give you a quick rundown of the field. Anthony Roselli leads the way in car number 7. His brother Dominic in the 80 car has gotten back around the 97 for second place, and that 97 that we speak of is Cody Higbee running in third right there. Fourth place is Gavin Isley in the 18 machine, and Alan Slight has gotten back into the top 5 over Ryan Beagle, running 6th place. They're all trying to navigate some traffic right now. Beagle to the outside of the 79 car. That's actually not traffic. That's a battle, as Dean Reynolds in 7th is looking for 6th place, and he's going to slide through 1 and 2 up into that spot for the moment. Beagle might try to turn it back underneath him. 8th place right now. He got a really good run up into the top 5, kind of fell back a little bit from there. That's Nick Sheridan in the 45 machine running 8th place. Dean Meitzler in his home race in 9th place right now. 10th in points coming into this evening. Running in 10th place on track is Brian Berger in the 60 car. Man, he is a jockey on a horse through turn 2. He's 1 lap down, as is Tyler Pachalski, so that's a battle for position. Jeff Sharp, 12th place, 1 lap down in the 28 machine. Beautiful race car. And Matt DeRitter, 13th. The last car only 1 lap down. Pat Reiser had some trouble earlier on. He is currently 4 laps down to the leaders, just trying to stick it out and get some points out of tonight's running, as we've hit 7 laps. Now 6 laps to go for Anthony Roselli. Jonathan, what do you do to catch up to that 7 car?
Hope for a caution. That's about all you can do, really. I mean, he's just on an island by himself, Joe. There's just nothing around him. We saw through that field, everybody else is kind of together, whether they're laps down to each other or they're battling for position. From second on back, the field is mostly together, except for the 7 car. It's just out on its own. Anthony Roselli just as a lonely man on top of the pole right now. He continues to pace his field, and have I jinxed it?
You wouldn't believe.
I may have jinxed it.
You wouldn't believe it. We almost got the whole way through this race. We hit 71 green laps.
Oh.
And Brian Berger brings out the first yellow of the evening. And Jonathan, we're gonna have a green-white checkered to finish this race out, brother. All of that to a green-white checkered.
I can't believe it. I was saying it, and I was like, well, there's no way there's gonna be a caution. Everybody's spread out. I don't think anything's in too bad a shape here, but we'll get a replay to see what exactly happened to Brian Berger to bring out this yellow. But a green-white checker after all that, everybody is in play, and everybody and anybody can win this race right now. As we see, it looks like Berger's going to cross over in front of Pachalski. He'll tap the wall a little bit there. Pachalski's not really laying off of him as he goes through the corner, and around goes the 60 car. So, oh no,
look
I think
out.
Berger was... Oh, Slate gets a piece of it.
Oh, man.
Based on where they're running, it looks like Berger was a lap down as well. So that battle between Berger and Pachalski would have been for position, but you would have liked to see the 21P maybe give a little bit of a break there. You see the guy in front of you bouncing off. Maybe he just didn't have the time to react, but tough deal altogether, and a tough way to put a rookie through his paces here to get his first win. I mean, Anthony Roselli, he'll have control of the restart. But man, oh man, a green-white checker. Talk about a pressure-packed situation.
Yeah, I mean, could you say he earned the win up to that point in time? Absolutely. You could make an argument that Anthony Roselli deserves the win, had that race won by his own doing. But now, yeah, Tyler Pachalski, really, Brian Berger and that whole incident, it really is coming down to, hey kid, you're not just proving it, you gotta prove that you're ready to win this race. You gotta prove that you're ready to beat your brother, Cody Higbee, Gavin Isley, Alan Slight, all the rest of these guys. As they go off turn number 4, the green flag comes back out. 2 to go, and Dominic Roselli's gonna send it into turn number 1 on his brother. Will he hold it into turn number 2? Higbee might have something to say about it.
Oh, they almost clashed coming out of the first corner. Down into 3 and 4. Higby's going to tuck back in line. Anthony Rizzelli's going to try to run his brother up the racetrack there. Look at Higby on the outside coming with a head of steam. Final lap, white flag waves.
Oh, he's going to turn his brother. No. The Van Sickle electric cars.
No.
No. And the white flag is already out. This is going to go to the finish. Because Gavin
Isley. The catfish on the inside. Can he get there? Cody Higby out of corner 4.
Cody.
What did we just witness?
Cody Higby. That is by the grace of God. That man. Wow. I would not want to be sitting at the dinner table with the Rizzellis tomorrow night. Wow.
I can't believe that just happened. Like, the script was there, but I didn't think they were going to go with that. Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
I don't even know who finished third, Joe. I'm speechless. But what a survival effort from Cody Higby.
Man, I am speechless. I have no idea what to say. I have no idea what to think. At the end of that race, those two, they ran such a good race. The both of them were so strong. And at the end, it does come down to keeping some composure, and it just didn't happen. It just wasn't the Rosselli's night, either of them. It was Cody Higby's. As it often is in this series, he will bring it to the Victorian Signs Victory Lane of Port Royal Speedway, and we'll give him a second. It's going to be Cody Higby, it's going to be Gavin Isley, and then it's going to be Alan Slight on the podium. That's who we're going to get to talk to in just a second. But while we give them a second to get that all wrapped up, Jonathan, oh my gosh. Do you have anything you can even break it down?
I guess that's what happens when you've got two rookies right at the front of the field.
And two brothers.
And two brothers. Neither of them wanted to give an inch, and they sure didn't. And wow, I can't believe how quickly this race changed. We thought Anthony Rizzelli had it in the bag, and he basically did. You said he won the race up to that point, and even the way he fought back on that coming to the white flag, he put himself in a good spot. He just was too worried about his brother down low, and I think that's really what covered that. That's what set that whole situation up. But good on this guy in Victory Lane. How did Cody Higby avoid all that? Like that it seemed like he was almost in the middle of that wreck multiple times on that green white checker.
I'm excited to see what he's got to say. Let's bring him up. I'll get a microphone on him, and we'll see what he's got about it. Cody Higby, this is Joe Donahue up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, Cody, please. We are speechless up in the booth. Can you please put some words to what just happened on that final lap of this race?
Yeah, I'm pretty speechless too. I definitely didn't expect that to happen, but on that restart, I just kind of timed it right, and I knew I had to run the top to try to get some momentum around them guys, and they bottled up going into one there, but I had a pretty good run going. I don't know what would have happened if that turn one played out different, but it was a great race. Me and Dominic raced pretty much the whole time, and Anthony flew by us, and he was out. He was gone. I definitely don't think we would have had anything for him if the yell didn't come out, but good run to them guys. That was a fantastic race. Really surprised, kind of. Port Royal's pretty rough on this game, and usually pretty narrow on the top, but tonight it raced pretty good.
I can hear my dad. This is kind of unrelated to what you said, but I got to get in. I can hear my dad reacting to the finish downstairs. Through the floor, I can hear him watching the end of that race. But Cody, you mentioned the battle with Dominic Rosselli, and I want to expand on that because you are a driver who's been with this series a long time. Dominic Rosselli is in his first season with us, and you have very clearly proven that you've got your game together with this season. And Dominic Rosselli's starting to show you that he's not out of it quite yet. He's been putting up a fight for you.
Yeah, Dominic's really good. He's a really good racer, and it's kind of funny. I raced with him in real life too, so to see him get on iRacing here is pretty cool. And the fact that we raced pretty good together is really neat. And his brother Anthony too, he's really good. Like I said, he he put a straightaway on us pretty quick. I think when we were battling, it kind of slowed us down. But yeah, overall, it was a great race and a pretty crazy finish.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a half-mile track that leads us into another half-mile next time, Knoxville Raceway next week. Is there anything you can carry over from tonight into that one?
Yeah, Knoxville is actually one of my favorite tracks on here. It's pretty crazy. The grooves change a lot there. You could kind of run the bottom early, and it kind of comes back in later when the top goes away. So I think that'll be a really interesting race and kind of similar to the night.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing what comes of that. I think every other driver is going to have their pupils dilated a little bit when they hear Cody Higbee say it's a racetrack he loves. So, Cody, you won again. Who do you have to thank and shout out here on the broadcast for this performance tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys, as always. Like I say all the time, it's an awesome thing to do. I want to thank you for making that trophy, too. That's a really neat thing. I'm definitely excited for that. So, yeah, that adds a little specialty to this race, getting a trophy from it. So, yeah, it's really neat. And like I said, thank you guys for putting this on. I have a lot of people that watch it, actually. So, yeah, thanks, everybody, for watching.
Awesome stuff, Cody. And be sure to, if you send me a PM here, a private message on Discord I'm going to need an address to send that to and PayPal, because tonight's got ahead of $25 for winning. So you got a $25 coming your way as well as that trophy. So give me that information when you have a moment, and congratulations from us.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. I didn't realize it paid too. So, yeah, that's really neat. Thank you guys.
Yes, sir. Surprise! Best surprise of the night, probably.
Yeah, definitely. Almost better than the turn one incident at the end.
Almost. I'll take that. Congratulations, Cody.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Oh, phenomenal stuff from Cody. Even though, we talked about that, it was kind of a Roselli night. Oh, man, Cody had a great race tonight, Jonathan. I think he'd be the one to win it if it wasn't one of those two, but yeah.
Still led 14 laps, right? So it's not like he was sitting there in third place the entire time. Like, he was up at the front in the mix, and a deserving winner when chaos ensued in front of him.
Absolutely. Well, I'll give you the mic here. We've got Gavin Isley, Jonathan, coming your way.
Gavin Isley, it's Jonathan Howe up in the booth. You got a copy, my friend?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Did you expect to find yourself on the podium here when you got that late restart? It kind of seemed like the race had played out exactly as it was going to, and not much was going to change, but you find yourself on a late restart up inside the front half of the field, and you capitalize. Talk to us about the crazy final couple laps there.
Just right place, right time, I guess. We kind of got far back early, saving tires, and we tried catching up at the end. And then it kind of played out with the caution and them wrecking themselves.
You mentioned saving tires. Was that something that you consciously approached this race with? Was that something you found in the warm-up session where you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to have to hang on and make sure I've got a little fresh rubber when things come down? When did you think about making the call to be more conservative at the front of at the beginning of this race?
Well, just after the heat race, I noticed a little bit of tire wear, so I played it safe the first 20 laps. Then I noticed I was 5 seconds behind or more at one point. I was like, I guess we got to turn the wick up a little bit. And yeah.
And talk to us just overall about this racetrack, because it seemed like a lot of folks found this to be a bumpier facility than maybe they could expect. And it certainly seemed like it was pretty rough, even on the straightaways for you guys.
Yeah, turn one had a big hole going in, so the outside was kind of treacherous at times. Because I know I fenced it at least once. And the straightaways, you had to be off the throttle more than you were in the corner just to keep the car straight.
Well, you find yourself on the podium here, and you played some smart strategy to make sure you were there in the end when it mattered. Who do you got to thank for a great drive here, Gavin?
I would think Performance Automotive and, oh man, I forgot his name. But he does my raps. That guy, James Farmwell.
There you go. You got it. Awesome, buddy. Well, we'll talk to you next time you were up on the podium. Great run tonight. Gavin Isley puts himself in position to come home second when it counts.
Absolutely. Taking advantage of a situation that's out of his control. You got to do that. That's kind of how the world works and whatnot. So, yeah. Another guy who well-deservingly is going to get a conversation up here in the booth. Actually, where did Alan Slight go? Is he down there?
I don't know if he's still
You
is he
see
still in the chat?
I don't see him. Alan Slight, if you still got the stream on, Alan, if you jump back in here, we can get you in for the post-race interviews. We do have a third place to share with you. I think we're going to take a moment here. I'll give him a little bit of time to jump back in, and we will just check out the final results and see if he shows up for us. Cody Higbee wins over Gavin Isley. Alan Slight third there. See if we can get him back in here. Dean Reynolds, a great finish in fourth place at the end of that. The craziness ensues, and Dean Reynolds ends up with a solid top 5. Ryan Beagle also with the top 5. That definitely needed to be a little closer to the front to run with Higbee in the championship, but none too shabby from him. Dominic Roselli pulled it back together for 6th, but man, that's the lowest he was all race long. Nick Sheridan, 7th place. Dean Meitzler, 8th place. Nice run for him. Anthony Roselli is going to be scored in 9th at the end of it. Jeff Sharp's going to go 10th. Tyler Pachalski, 11th. Matt DeRitter, 12th. Brian Berger in 13th. And Pat Reiser rounds him out in 14th. And Jonathan, I was really looking forward to giving him a quick shout here. Alan Slight going to be your third place runner tonight. I guess we'll have to wait for him to get another podium to talk sometime, but can you attempt to sum things up for us, Jonathan?
I don't even know where to begin. We had such a fantastic race, and I'm not even going to sit here and say that ending spoiled it. It just added a whole other chapter to what was a great story. We saw amazing battles from Cody Higbee and Dominic Roselli throughout that race. Anthony Roselli plays the strategy right, saves his stuff, saves his tires, does a great job to come up front, and then just all hell breaks loose as soon as we get a late restart, as things tend to do. Just the fact that it was between two brothers. I mean, I just sent a little message to one of my